Hey everyone, it's James. June 12th, about 5:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin, BTC USD on the Bitfinex exchange. So first of all, it's not investment advice. The video is done for educational purposes only. And then second of all, something I want to talk about that I've been talking about in these videos is just a series of arches that are clearly forming in Bitcoin, and every run is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So if we do have a run here, maybe it looks something like that. We'll find out. I did talk about the selling pressure in Bitcoin. I did talk about the progression downward, and that's where I thought price was going to go. That's exactly where we're at. The reason why is you can see just by this simple line, the selling pressure and price, you can see that not only do we break below it, we try to pop back up, broke right back down below it again, showing a severe sign of weakness and selling pressure in this market. Now, let me show you the last time we had a very similar move. We had this downtrend line, right? Price broke through. Look at the conviction. Boom, explodes to the upside, right? Explodes to the upside. Buyers shoot in. Everybody's watching this line. They get ecstatic. Price is rising. We drop, but price doesn't even get anywhere close. Look at all this white space right here. Now, everything looks a little stretched out because I'm so zoomed far back. But when we look at this, price could have easily just done a crazy and wild dip like it did back in here on 6,000, but it did not because buyers started stepping in, and pushing price out to the right. The right is time and space. So everything new goes into time and space, obviously. And what we see here is that we broke out, fizzled around, and I talked about this as well, and then boom, dropped off a cliff, popped back up, boom, dropping down yet once again. So we can see the immense selling pressure in Bitcoin here at these levels, and it's not a good sign at all. We're also testing the 64.25 zone. I've talked about this in my prior videos. We're just $10 higher than that level. If price continues to push down and we break that zone, and there's not a lot of support right here because we're right under that base, if we do break this level to the downside, it is down to 6,000. And if we have to retest 6,000, I do not believe 6,000 will hold because here we see a base of accumulation, a lot of buyers stepping into this market to make it progress upward and then eventually pop to the upside. This is just a quick intervention in the market that eventually turned into price completely toppling over. The same thing here as well. But the point is that there was maybe only a few big buyers in this area or a single big buyer that really got this price jump started to the upside versus a community of individuals here, and then more than likely a single or two or just a small group of big buyers to really push price and get it started then. But there was definitely some accumulation here, and you can see that on the increase in price at those levels. So if this area gets taken out, I find it very hard to believe that area is going to take or that area is going to provide the support that Bitcoin needs to skyrocket, to the moon. But the other thing we've seen too, on top of that, is that Litecoin and Neo, and I don't know if there's probably more alts out there too, that are all making new lows for the year. So we had the bubble top, the implosion of that bubble, and then the corrector or the try to form a base to normalization, which would eventually lead to a bull market, which will lead to price heading back to the 20,000 range. Instead, what we see now is some of these alts breaking down below this area, and that's not a good sign at all. It's not that it's the end of the market, but it's not a good sign for the market at the moment if we're seeing this immense selling pressure across the board, especially when the market was trying to form a base. And more than likely, what I believe that's from is that the market was manipulated to make these runs, and that's why we saw price roll over so many times. You don't need me to tell you that. They're launching a probe into the price manipulation. We'll see what unfolds from there. I doubt anything, but anyways, the point is that even the Department of Justice decided to get involved on this manipulation, and the manipulation is clear as day. You can see the rapid price movement. You can see price toppling over. it just only takes one or a couple of big buyers to really push price. They dump in, the guppies just can't sustain it, price topples over. It's really just that simple. We could get into it much more in depth, but it's literally that simple. So no reason to dilute it with any other fantasies. But anyways, since we saw that in that market, I think we artificially created a base here. And instead of allowing price to just correct as a normal correction, like a nice deep corrective move, and then build that base naturally, that natural normalization, then we could have seen price rise up. But instead what we saw was clear manipulation of price, which has led to a dwindling in price action. Now a massive investigation by the United States, the Department of Justice, to see, to find these manipulators and more than likely not prosecute them. But anyways, the point is that this delayed everything. And it delayed everything, and you can see that through price stretching to the right. Okay, so we see how price is stretching to the right. It's being artificially inflated. There's just not enough people coming back in this market to sustain it, or enough big players, I should say, to sustain the run. And they're just dumping into the guppies, and that's what's leading to price rolling over continuously. So this could be a drop that could lead to the normal corrective move in this market that then will lead to a base formation, which then would allow Bitcoin to form a bull market and to continue riding north, to the 20,000 level or so forth. Let me talk about this real quick. If we do hold this zone, right? I don't want to talk about, I know it's definitely bearish, the sentiment. There's like a dark cloud over this market right now. It's, it's taking a severe hit, but if we do hold up in this zone and we end up basing out and we end up popping, and even if it's just a small run and we still hold in this zone and slowly start to even churn right, but just at a slight and subtle increase, even though it's just only $10 over this bottom right here, if we do that and we start to base out here, I would take that as still a positive sign in this market that yes, even though the market was heavily manipulated during these runs and it did not work to turn this market around, it just elongated the process of the normal corrective move, then we could just fulfill it out like so and just create a more horizontal base. That horizontal base would then give price the energy it needs to accumulate to make a bigger run up this way, okay? So it's not all bearish. There's definitely requirements that have to be met before we can really get bearish on Bitcoin, meaning that 6,400 has to get broken and 6,000 has to get broken before we can even start to venture in to the fantasy of bear land. But if we do not do that and we just base out, to me, I will take that as a sign of bullishness, but it's going to require a lot of time. And I've talked about that in my prior videos as well, that people need to understand the point at where we're at in this market. And you do not need to just believe me. You can visually see this on this chart. This is showing it's going to take time for price to make a significant move that would eventually lead to it coming to this 20,000 top, if not higher, right? You can see that right on the chart. You do not need me to tell you this. But the reason why I do talk about it is because I don't think anybody out there is talking about it, unless maybe they saw one of my videos, and not a lot of people are going to, because it's not hype. It's not, they want to sell the hype. They want to blow smoke up your rear and hope that you believe it and make stupid, irrational decisions. I try to lay this out as level-headed as possible, so you can make a rational decision based on your investment style. Now, it's not investment advice. I don't know who you are, don't know what your trading style is, and so forth. But if you are investing in the market, the last thing you need is John McAfee in your ear saying it's going to 400 trillion tomorrow, and it's clearly doing everything but that. Or you don't need to be watching, CNBC or something like that, and they're talking about all the reasons why Bitcoin's going to be over 20,000 by the year end, yet it's obviously doing everything different than what they keep saying continuously on mainstream media. So that's the reason why I lay these videos out this way. That's the reason why I try not to get hyped up about these, and I try to talk about, you know, just the overall environment of what's occurring here at these levels. So again, if we do break down, it's definitely going to be bearish. It's not going to be a good sign. Doesn't mean it's the end of the market. It just means that we are going to enter into a normal corrective move that should have happened back in here. Okay, we were heading into that normal corrective move. There was a massive intervention, which led to a V bottom, which led to the market toppling over, which led to another intervention, which led to the market toppling over. And if we do start to fall down and continue that normal corrective move, we'll have to look much lower for price to settle, build a base. That base will lead to the normalization of the market. Normalization of the market leads to a new market, which means the market should, as long as it lasts, continue upward, okay? So bearish at first, it's like a what is it, the Sour Patch Kids, you know, they're sour on the outside, sweet in the inside. So that's kind of like what we're at. Like we're right at that point to where price is either going to collapse in on itself, form the normal corrective move, or it's going to base out, build the energy it needs to then continue higher. So that's it for tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, follow. I do thank you for your time. I thank you for your support. I'm sorry if some of these videos get a little long-winded. I'm not sure how many people last the entire video, but I try to lay it out as simplistic and as logical as possible so everybody has an understanding of just like the bigger picture on what's happening in this market, aside from like the fundamentals, the indicators, and all the mumbo jumbo that people like to talk about with the hype and so forth. But again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. If you're not joined the Slack community, there's over like 350 members all over the world, cryptocurrency oriented, just a very nice community of people. Everyone's extremely friendly. You can visit my site, geometriccharts.com. At the bottom, there's the link to my Slack channel as well as my social media accounts. And other than that, I'll talk to everybody tomorrow.